everybody. Welcome to my show, Amina Motala, and I'm here with a very interesting gentleman that I would love for you all to meet and get to know. Very interesting, wise words for us Canadians. So here today is Christopher James from A Warrior Calls, the website. And hello, Christopher. Welcome.
Hello, Amina. Thank you so much for having me here today.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I think today we could share a lot of great insight to Canadians and get us started, certainly on an introduction as to what you talk about and advocate for, which is common law. And first of all, could you introduce a little brief introduction of yourself, and then we'll just get right into it.
Sure. Keep my story short. I originally was in the music and entertainment industry for many years. I was in college at 17, out at 19, graduated a degree of recording engineering. And then from there, I started to branch out on myself. And then what happened is I wound up going into general contracting in order to create money to raise and create my own recording studio, world class in the world. So I thought I'd go into renovations for a few years and make some money. Long story short, again, basically by 1995, I saw that the music industry was being destroyed by Napster and the new technology, the internet, coming online. So I saw an incredible opportunity by 2001 to launch a global initiative, 1.5 billion in 10 countries. Canada was one of the countries. I sat twice with Paul Martin's office and achieved a great many things. We can hopefully sometime come back and talk about that. And then ultimately from that, what happened, this is when the rubber hit the road for me. Why I'm here today is that I came face to face, I guess you could say, with an incredible evil in this world. And that would be the Federal Reserve, the banking system. I knew nothing about banking. And people might say, well, geez, you're doing a $1.5 billion initiative in the world. You don't know anything about banking. Well, no, I was in music and entertainment industry. You know, you don't learn about the financial side. So as I started to learn that as the venture was coming to fruition, I came across this enormous corruption that was going on in this world, which ultimately destroyed my life's work, which was my Soulcore Entertainment group that I was going to launch. And just to, you know, the magnitude of it, Alan Lee from Lord of the Rings, he flew over specifically in 2003 and sat with me and gave his services to me for free when he turned down Brad Pitt from Troy. And the only reason I say this to people is just so that they understand, because we're doing a very short interview here, is that I want people to understand where the foundation of where this truth is coming from. It is all based on experience and enormous research. I have over 55,000 files in my vault that I've been doing research over the last 20 years. Why this research came about? Because my life's work, when it ultimately got destroyed, I wanted to find out what the hell is going on in this world. And people don't have a clue how money is created in this world. That's the first and foremost thing. And then I started to realize that people don't have a clue who they are. They don't understand what's really going on from the moment that we're born. So after, you know, 2005, this devastation with my initiative was destroyed. My entire family was wiped out financially. I was wiped out financially. Again, all because of this corruption that was within the system by no fault of our own. And so then that led me to get into commercial lending. And I started doing, you know, which is a very, again, investigative type of work when you're dealing with millions of dollars in corporations and companies. You know, you have to get into their books to refinance with financial institutions. So what I started finding, Amina, was, again, massive fraud again that was coming my way through this work I was doing. And I was seeing enormous amount of elderly people being harmed, wrong and harm. So at that point, that's when I started getting involved with law enforcement, RCMP, OPP, and local municipal police. I started going to them with cases, and then they came back to me with some huge cases that I happen to be doing some refinancing for that I can't disclose, but let me just say they were one of some of the biggest cases in Ontario. So through this journey, I started learning that, and then all of a sudden in 2006, my father comes to me. He shows me that he's got this surplus in his pension with the Fuller Brush Company, and he says, you know, I'm supposed to be receiving lots of money. Just so you know, my father worked for 41 years, and his pension was $3,600 a year. That's what his pension was. So my father was, and this is ultimately why I'm here as well, is that my father was a very sick man most of his life. He had 7 heart attacks, 2 triple bypasses. He died twice in my arms. And then what ultimately happened is that when this pension case came on, I drilled down to find out, because he came back to me in 2010, I mean, and it had not been solved. It had not been paid out to these pensioners when this money was owed to them from 1992. Not only was it not owed to them, but there was also $15 million that was missing from the fund. Okay, that the corporation that took from them. So ultimately, to let people know why I'm here, what happened in my journey when my life's work was destroyed, if you can understand that. Okay, you work your whole life towards something, then all of a sudden this curtain gets pulled back, you see this enormous evil, and you're like, oh my God. You know, but I'm the type of man that I'm a dog with a bone. I had to find out what was going on. So I set out to right an enormous wrong for my mother and my father and my sister that happened to all of us, okay? this is where this came from, for me doing something for my family, because I still carry that burden today on my shoulders from what happened to all of us. It's like I say, it was horrific. And what happened along the way is that I came across an enormous truth, an incredible truth, a truth that was not only going to right the wrongs for my mother and father, but it was so huge, it was actually going to change and save our world. That's why when you go to my website, it says on the opening page, it says, one truth will save our world. And it's not some slogan. I'm not selling anything. I'm about to bring forward, not about, I have been bringing forward now for the last 5-6 months, very intensely, this truth to the world. And it is catching on like wildfire. People are understanding the solution. People are trying to understand what is going on. And before they can understand what's,
yeah, and so let's get into a little bit of that. So for myself, I'm really resonating with what you're saying so much to my core, because I started out working, learning about blockchain, cryptocurrencies, but because of sovereignty and being a sovereign soul, that who I am. And I always know that inside of me. I just know that there's, way more rights that I have, because I can feel like I don't align with a lot of things. And if I feel that so strongly inside of me, I know something's wrong or unbalanced. And, being in this blockchain community, it's certainly a lot of like-minded. There's many different types of thoughts in this community, but there is a great amount of people who are in alignment with, the sovereignty of our beings. And so let's get into it. You talk a lot about common law and things like that, but where should we start? Because there are some people who are going to be watching that don't know anything about this. And as Canadians, and not just Canadians, but individuals, sovereign souls around the world, the whole world, and right now the whole world is affected by what is going on. And so, whether it's not about what we're not against or here to divide. It's about bringing us together and to know what knowledge is truth, what the truth is, what truth lays there, and it's hearing perspective. So if anyone's watching and you have a very different perspective, remember, especially times like right now, hearing a different perspective is probably the most valuable thing you could do right now. And hear them. So here's one, and let's get started. And where do you think we should start with anyone who's, like I said, who's new at this and learning anything about this?
Well, the key thing that I've learned over the many years here with law is that words are very important. So let's talk with what you were just stating there. You were saying a different perspective. Let me make perfectly clear to everybody, I'm not here, with all due respect, to bring a different perspective forward. I'm dealing in facts, concrete, hard facts. I'm going to tell everyone and show everyone, as my website does, of a horrific trespass. We have to start at the beginning. There's a horrific trespass that has occurred against every single man and woman, not only in Canada, but around this world. And this truth is very, very simple. When you were born in hospital, there's documentation when you're a baby lying in a crib and your mother and father are filling out the paperwork at the hospital. They are not given full disclosure of what is going on with the documentation they're filling out. And it is from that very trespass that occurs when we're born that all of this wrong and harm is occurring in this world. Why our court systems have been completely corrupted, and more importantly, why the consciousness of our fellow man has been corrupted. I'm here because of love. And I'm right on side with you with that, Amina, because love is the most important thing in this world. I'm not here to tear anybody down except for the corruption that is all around us. I'm here to correct the consciousness of my fellow man and woman all in this world, because you've been lied to. You've been lied to all your lives at who you are in this world. And it's very, very simple once you understand this truth. When we're born, there's documentation that's created in the hospital. What literally happens is that you're born into this world as a man or a woman with all your inalienable rights, as you talked about, being sovereign. What is sovereign? Sovereign is when we are given dominion over something, and that's where our country was founded, on the Bible, that we are given dominion over the land, the earth, the sea, from our Creator. That makes us all sovereign beings. We are all equal under the law. We come into this world without any paperwork attached to us. We understand that. Okay, but what happens at birth is that all of a sudden people realize 3 weeks later that they get in the mail a birth certificate. And it is that birth certificate that is actually evidence of this horrific trespass. What is actually happening is when we are born a man or woman in law, okay? That's the common law. The common law is the unwritten law, okay? And I should let everyone know that this journey started out for me originally to bring the common law forward just into Canada once I realized this massive corruption that was going on, to be a light to this world. But then it's branched out now. We're working in 5 different countries. I should let everyone know they should go to earthunited.global. That's the point of my spear as well on a global level, with Jesse Casanova, who's done an incredible job putting that website together. On my website of warriorcalls.com, you have the knowledge there. There's 4 very simple foundational knowledge videos that everybody needs to watch first. And then jump onto my live streams on Thursday nights on YouTube, because like I said, you're going to be taught and shown everything in real time what's going on here. So back to the trespass. When we're born, you know that they're filling out this documentation. What the birth certificate represents. And all of us have this idea. We've never been shown it, but I've got it all up on my website here. This document here represents the creation of a corporation when we're born. It has nothing to do with us as a man or a woman. It's evidence of identity theft. Now, these are not conspiracy theories. You go and grab that short form birth certificate that you have and you start looking at it. There's 2 dates on it. Well, first thing you're going to recognize is that your name is in all capital letters. Okay, that is what is done to you when you were born. And why is this done to you when you were born? Is because this evil that exists in this world, I mean, it cannot stand, it does not want the people to actually know the power that we all have, the rights that we all have. So immediately when we came into this world, they kill us on paper. They create a legal person. He who creates owns. So who created this birth certificate? I didn't, right? It has nothing to do with me. You have to remember that, and everyone needs to understand that. That birth certificate has nothing to do with any of us. It's evidence, again, of identity theft. Because why? Well, we have to take the word government out of the way. Okay, this is, I love Norman Travesty, who you've been helping with and speaking to. He's doing everything he can in his heart to make this right, but unfortunately he's in the wrong jurisdiction because he's entering these court systems in a legal capacity and not a lawful capacity. So people say, well, what's the difference between legal and lawful? It's very simple. And these are things you've never been taught. Legal only applies to that which is incorporated. Legal persons. Remember, we're not born a legal person. We're not born a person. We're born a man or a woman. Person is a trick word within the bar. Okay, so when you understand these simple facts that legal applies to that which is incorporated and lawful applies to a man, woman, or people, period. Very, very powerful.
So when we're given that birth certificate at birth, right away your parents are signing something that is unbeknownst to them what they're signing.
Absolutely.
And that makes it unlawful.
Absolutely, because what they're doing, it's great to use that word again, it's an unlawful conversion. This is what happens when we're born. They say, well, what are they converting us unlawfully to? Remember, I should first tell you what the word law stands for. This is, again, something that we've never been taught. And when people understand these foundational truths, it's huge. Law stands for 3 jurisdictions in this world. L stands for land, which is common law. That's what comes from our creator. That's the unwritten law. We, the people, all know the difference between right and wrong. We don't trespass against another man or woman, and we don't administrate another man or woman's property. Property is a huge word when you understand it. And trespass. So that's ultimately what's going on when we're born. You know, this whole process that we go through, as you said, our parents are believing that they're signing these documentations, simply creating a record. And let me remind everybody that this birth certificate, it's simply evidence, but it's a record, just like the hospital record. Even though you see your name, there's a, when you go on my website, you'll see there's the long form, which is actually the record that your parents fill out that you can acquire here in Canada. Thank God still, because a lot of countries in the world are not allowing that document to be showed. I tell everyone to go and get that document, apply for it. It's very paramount that you get it. Why? Because then you can start to establish and understand who you are, the power that we have, and then more importantly, how collectively our country is going to be an incredible.
Just go over how they apply for it and what it's called again.
Yeah, it's called, well, they turn it around. There's a show I've done. It's called a plan against the, a trespass against the mind of man. A planned trespass, sorry. It was done 5 years ago. You can look it up on YouTube. Search Christopher J. That was another little channel I had. That's where the video resides. On that, that's what shows everyone to go through Service Ontario, whatever province you're in this country, to acquire the long form birth certificate. Okay, it's funny, you know, it's not funny, it says long form birth certificate that you're applying for, and they've made it quite convoluted now. You're looking for that original hospital record, but nowhere on it does it say birth certificate. Okay, it'll say statement of live birth.
Yeah. Okay, and it says long form, correct?
Yes, it does on the website.
Okay, now I'm born in South Africa. How do I go about doing something like this?
Well, you would contact the Ministry of Health, I guess, in South Africa.
Okay.
Whoever keeps records of the birth, deaths, certificates. In Canada here, it's the Register General. That's ultimately when this trespass occurs, and they unlawfully convert you from a man or a woman to a legal person. That's what's going on when the birth certificate's created.
Okay. So
Okay.
take us through. So I contact, because we're full of immigrants here in this country. So you contact your mother country where you're born, and you get to the registers for your birth certificate, and you get a copy of it. Now you have a copy of your long form.
Yes.
Of the
it's the hospital record you're looking for, and this is why you got to understand the play in words. If you say birth certificate, they're going to send you the document that they created, and we should talk about who they is quickly. Okay, I want everyone out there to understand something. Every government in the world is a service corporation. Start calling them what they are. They are not governments buying for the people. They are no different than McDonald's, Tim Hortons, and Burger King. They're providing services to we the people. And
govern is to govern the mind, government. So they are service people. Okay.
That's right. They're our employees, right? This is how the system was supposed to. Remember, when we came into this world, Amina, we come into this world under God as a man and woman, right? And we are the creators in this world. And from that point on, we created government. We, the people, created government to what? Protect the property of man. End of story. That's why all governments were created.
Right.
And yet we've got this flip that's going on in this world right now, whereas you were talking so eloquently earlier about all this fear and all this enormous wrong and harm that's occurring now by these service corps. See, when you start to understand it's a service corporation, Justin Trudeau or Doug Ford in Ontario here, are these people going to come into open court and claim that I or any man or woman in this country is property? No. Can any man or woman in this country administrate property without right? No. So it's over right there. That's when you realize that not a damn thing that they put pen to paper on is law. Okay, it's policy on behalf of a service corporation, right? You would not be, you would not stay in your home if the president of McDonald's or Tim Hortons ordered everybody at home, or it's a very, very deep subject, but I just want people to understand that initial foundational truth, because once you understand these correct entities that are how they're operating in our world and how we're interacting with them, you realize that this colossal lie has compromised the consciousness of man, and that everyone's walking around as this dead fiction, as this legal person. This is how we're operating in our banks. This is how we're operating in our courts. And that's the part that's most disturbing. The reason that we have no justice in this country, as Norman's finding out, is because when you go to your public courthouse, they drag you into the legal world, okay? They force the rules of civil procedure on the people. There's the trick. When you go to that public courthouse, you access it as a man or a woman. You never use legal forms. You file your own paperwork.
What about class action lawsuits?
Well, that's, again, you don't need a class action lawsuit when you're in common law because you're going after the man. I'll give you an example. On September 12th of this year, that's why this is so important. This conversation's happening right now. I want everyone to go to warriorcalls.com. Once you please subscribe too, because that way we can connect with you if they pull me off the internet, which they're probably going to do, not the internet, but YouTube. There's a case file. It's the second file. It's the Sukleski court that we've established. You need to download that filing, and everyone needs to read it because it is very simple to understand. Okay, it's actually restoring and putting in place again. It's calling the bar out that they have no right to trespass on we the people at a public courthouse, that we have a right to access it and move our claims in court outside of the bar. See, the rules of civil procedure, that's the underlying pin for the bar. When people realize that those rules of civil procedure don't apply to we the people, they only apply to a society to which we do not belong to, which is the bar. Look up who writes the rules of civil procedure. It's the Attorney General, a man, again, acting for a service corporation. See, they give people these big fancy names, like an attorney general to scare people. He's no different than the top man or woman that's from the legal department, again, of McDonald's or Tim Hortons. Do you have anything to do with McDonald's or Tim Hortons? No. And that's why nothing that comes out of these people's mouths or pen that they put to paper applies to us.
Right.
They're supposed to be operating our public courthouses so that we the people have access to seek the administration of justice, like Norman Travesty is doing. Norman got into a problem with what he was doing because he used the legal forms. And I love Norman. Like I said, I reached out to him back in November last year. We spoke. So hopefully we're going to talk again in the near future.
Oh, yes, we will.
because it's absolutely huge. So on September 12th, this claim went into the courthouse, and this is what the entire country, the entire world is now seeing. Why? Because it's showing and exposing the bar for what it is. It's showing the corruption, simply what's been going on in our public courthouses for a very long time. It's showing everybody that there is no right for the CRA to tax any of us. It's all based on fraud. And they say, fraud? What are you talking about? Well, who created, again, the birth certificate? Well, that was the Service Corporation Ontario, okay, or Canada in the larger picture. And when this birth certificate is created, on the back of it, mine came blank laminated, so I went and applied for it years later. There's a red number on the back. It's called a CUSIP number. And that's a number that's required, if you look it up, for any corporation or company to be sold on the stock exchange. Full stop. Yes. So what is that doing on a birth certificate? All of this is evidenced on my website in my 4 short foundational knowledge videos.
How can you show that on the stock exchange? How can that be shown?
Well, you used to be able to look it up through Dun & Bradstreet. When you would go to a stockbroker, they can pull up that CUSIP number. And what has actually happened, which is actually very sick, is that there's more than one corporation that's been created in our names. Go and look at all the ID you've been given, okay? Look at your bank account with the name that's on that. Look at your driver's license. Look at your health card, right? Look at the SIN number that was given to you. You're going to see your name first and foremost as all capital letters, and then you're going to see it's in all different configurations. Your last name might be first. They might just give you the middle initial. They might give you your full name. Every single time they've done that, they've created a new corporation with a CUSIP number on the back.
Really?
This is the sickening. We'll have to talk more detail about the CUSIP number, but again, you're going to hear from a World Bank lawyer of 20 years, Karen Hudez. It's in those short clips, and she's telling everybody. When she first heard this, she thought, this is crazy, this is nuts, just like I did, just like everybody did. But then you drill down on it and you go, oh my God, this is what's going on in this world. So this is what you have to understand. All of these rules, codes, statutes, these orders that Justin Trudeau's putting out, or Doug Ford, they apply to this piece of plastic. That's what they apply to, because their Service Corporation created it, not to we the people.
So that's what we are to them constantly.
Well, that's what they've done to our consciousness. That's right. They've corrupted everybody. People don't know who they are. And now that people are waking up to know who they are, I've been working with the police trying to do all I can, because they're the ones that are on the front lines that are put, between the people now. And we see all this conflict that's happening in our world with this COVID. And I guess that's ultimately what I've got to say as well. I've got 55 videos now on COVID alone. If people will just watch a handful of them on my website, you're going to learn that we've been lied to. We've been lied to on a colossal level.
Tell us in the beginning of that, what can you, like I said, this is a shorter video today. We're going to have more. So we want to just get an introduction and get everyone started in learning. So about COVID, let's start there.
Yeah, well, COVID-19, again, to make it short, and we'll drive into it more, who did this trespass to us when we were born? Who created this system that we were born into? It's the central bankers, it's the monarch, and the Pope. The Pope has claimed ownership over every corporation that was ever created. There was one crown corporation that was created. If you look up in 1302, it's called the Papal Bulls. And that's when this Pope declared that he owned all souls in this world. Okay, this is how far back this nonsense goes, this corruption.
And that's interesting, because he just spoke recently, and when he speaks, he talks about the economy of the world, he talks about state affairs, and he's a pope. Why is he so interested in state affairs and economics? So that's the link. Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Well, you have to understand, all roads lead to Rome, as many people like and know that's not maybe necessarily not like, but know that saying. And that's ultimately what goes on, because what you hear from Karen Hudez is that our taxation money, this is huge.
And the big buzzwords, I'm sorry, I'm getting these thoughts in my head, but the big buzzwords that they're saying, like the Pope is saying, is build back better. So be aware of those words, build back better.
Just be aware of the Pope. When you understand who the Pope is, these people are not your friends, okay? You have to understand this horrific system that you were born into. I'm 50, turn 54 in a couple of more months here. So, like I said, this criminality, this discussion that we're having here, this unlawful conversion, this trespass, this conversation should have happened, Amina, with your mother and father to you. They should have taught you who you were when you came into this world.
Absolutely. I'm not that much younger than you. I'm 52. Oh. And I know I don't look it.
No, you don't. You look really young, actually.
I know. It's really bizarre. Anyway, so I have great genes. Thank you, God.
Yes.
But I'm 52, and I've known about the birth certificate thing when my children were born. I was just learning pretty much, and I was leery about all of that and signing it. But I needed to move forward in life with not the full knowledge. So, but even instinctually, I knew something didn't feel right. And no, my parents didn't teach and didn't know. My dad, although, you know, my grandfather was, I've talked about this before, he was a freedom fighter in South Africa in the 60s. And so I grew up in a very visionary type of home and learning how to think outside of the system a little bit. So I've been privy to interesting people and conversations, you know, worldwide, even from elders around the world. So I have an interesting perspective or knowledge, let's say, like you say. And so I'm a little bit aware. Maybe this is why I'm here where I am talking to people like you today. So sorry, let's continue on now.
It's an incredible moment. And I mean, I want to keep this first part really short so everybody understands the importance of this discussion that we're having right here. What is being laid before you is the most enormous truth that's been hidden from all of mankind, and why it is so powerful. It is going to root out right now the corruption in this world like never before. It's going to stop all of this lies and deceit surrounding COVID-19 because the truth is finally going to be brought into the courthouses. It's been blocked. For those of you that aren't aware of a woman by the name of Dr. Judy Mikovits, she's incredible. I did an interview with her 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks now, that I've held back because it is so powerful once I bring it forward.
And I was just on the Sarah Westall show, and Sarah Westall interviewed her as well. So for those of you who just saw, you know, my interview with Sarah Westall, she interviewed the doctor as well. So please continue.
Yep. So like I said, my background is in the music entertainment industry. So I understood, you know, you need to understand something, everyone. These are not opinions that I'm sharing with you. These are facts, and pay attention. This is going to be very hard for some people hearing this. You are being lied to across the board from the mainstream media. The mainstream media is controlled by the very same people that created these birth certificates, the central bankers, the Pope, and the Queen. They're controlling this world right now through the media, and they're causing all this fear. And the only reason we have this fear is because my fellow man and woman lack knowledge. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, not because they don't love their fellow man or woman. It's because you've been intentionally lied to from the very first breath that we've taken. And that's why this moment is so huge right now, because once everyone understands that this trespass that occurs at birth is the underlying key, it's the kingpin, it's the keys to the kingdom for our world, for this hard reset to come out. Why? Because the people are finally going to be giving the truth, and they're going to understand. It's going to restore this relationship that we supposedly have between we the people and these service corporations acting as governments. We always see that these people are never held accountable. Look what Norman's trying to do, hold Justin accountable, right? In common law, Justin can't bring in his lawyers in that. You make a claim against him of trespassing against the people, which he has done so many times it's not funny, especially his father. He's the one that sold out the country with the Bank of Canada in 1973. Public bank, he gave our property, which are, our patents, to the business of international settlements. That is treason of the highest order.
Yes.
Okay. And it doesn't get any more treasonous than what's going on here. This trespass against all of mankind, because they convert you into this legal person, unbeknownst to you, and then everyone's been led to believe that legal applies to them in this world, and it doesn't. And when they see and they understand this simple truth, it is so powerful. And that's why the claim that's before the courthouse today that went in on the 12th, that's why the world has to look at this right now, because it's calling out very powerfully that the rules, that's how simple this is. You don't need to understand law. You don't need to understand what the case is about. It's two questions. Is the courthouse that it went into, the Milton courthouse, a public courthouse or a private courthouse? Well, we all know they're public courthouses. So the second question is, do the rules of civil procedure apply to we the people? And the answer to that emphatically is no. And the bar is terrified now. This courthouse, I'm telling you, is, I won't use the language I'd like to use, but they are scared, you know what? Because the minute that this claim now finally goes through to fruition and I seat a jury of my peers, because that's what happens in common law. Okay, when you access that public courthouse as a man or woman, you're moving your claim in court. There's no legal processes, and that man or woman wearing the robe, they are your servant. You must know that. When I go into a public courthouse, I always require the name of the man or the woman wearing the robe. And as soon as they give it to me, say that my name's John Smith. Well, I refer to that man from that point on as John. I say, John, what's going on here? You know, that's another show we can talk about, but people need to understand why this trespass that happened at birth is so powerful. This one truth is coming forward right now in this world, and everyone in this country needs to they need to get involved in this, because once we restore this truth, to our consciousness, it's game on, because we are going to be able to correct all this wrong and harm that's going. We're going to have a vehicle to bring all this truth surrounding COVID-19 into the courts, not on the television, on the CBC, or out in the public, where these politicians, everybody can speak and no one is actually being held accountable under oath or affirmation. That's where this truth needs to go.
So step number one, people can take, let's say, until we do our next video, but something they can do between now and say our next show.
Thank you. The first step to do is go to Warrior Calls, watch the 4 foundational knowledge videos. That will awake you and understand to what has actually gone on the trespass when you're born. From that point, go to my Thursday night live stream, subscribe on YouTube. It's under a Warrior Calls. Every Thursday night or Saturday, I do these live streams, and it's in real time. I just started them on August the 6th. And again, if you go back and start on August the 6th and you watch all of them up till now once a week, you are going to be fast-tracked like you would not believe. You're going to finally understand what is going on in this world. And it is that point. We're not going to be, gathering, talking about masks over, hugs over masks, or all these other ridiculous things that have no solution. In constitutions, anyone that's talking about constitutions to you, run from them. Okay, because a man or woman does not require a constitution to live in this world. Constitutions are part of this system that was created a long time ago to enslave us on paper. And once you realize that when someone's putting any piece of paper in front of you, it doesn't matter what it is.
And to make us digress, right?
That's right. Yeah. And if your name's not on that piece of paper, or you didn't write it, or you didn't have any, consciousness, or any, there was no meeting of the minds, then that paperwork, doesn't matter if it's a police officer, you're in a court of law, it doesn't apply to you.
So does that mean the Magna Carta doesn't have a lot of weight the way it says they do?
Exactly, because my name's not on it, your name's not on it. It was a moment in time in history when the people, they did what they did at that time to regain their sovereignty. Well, it's 2020, people. Okay, we don't rely on pieces of paper, all right, to prove who we are as a man or woman. We're walking around here in the flesh and blood. And this is why we've got to do this hard reset with the consciousness of man.
Okay, very interesting. Very interesting. So what do you think? Should we leave it here today, or do you want to add anything?
Like I said, I would just like to add, go to warriorcalls.com, subscribe there. Also go to Earth United. That's the global point where you can see the entire world is starting to come now, because it's incredible. I'm working with Australia, Ireland, Scotland right now, the UK, and Canada, and the United States.
Nice.
And everybody's on the same page. Why? Because this trespass has occurred against all of us. So you don't need to understand law. The second that everybody knows that the rules of civil procedure, that's why I keep saying it, because it is so huge, everyone will start to get, like, for example, if I was an attorney general and I wrote these rules of civil procedure, and then you walk into a public courthouse and then someone says, hey, Amina, Christopher James, he wrote these rules of civil procedure, they apply to you. What would you say?
Right.
You'd say, no, give me a break. Number one, I don't know who Christopher James is. Well, until today, I don't know who Christopher James is. I'm not his property. Does he have a contract with me where I've relinquished my right to walk this world as a man or woman with all my unalienable rights? No. See how simple that is to understand? That's exactly what's gone on, because the people that write the rules of civil procedure, again, are a handful of people of a society we do not belong to at the bar, right? So you have to understand the government of Ontario is a service corporation. And what Doug Ford is doing right now is absolutely horrific. I mean, they're instilling fear. They have no business shutting the businesses down. Look at the numbers. 1.5 million people die of the flu every year.
They have to
and another
unstabilize us, right? That's part of the plan, the programming,
Yep, and there's some great videos that I've just uploaded. You got to look up Dolores Cahill out of the UK.
Yes,
this woman is off the charts. 18 years, she's a professor that's focused right in on coronavirus. And she said, boy, did they pick the wrong virus to go after, because she's exposed it all now. It's all lies. And this is what the world has got to realize, that we're being lied to, that something very nefarious is going on here. And these vaccines, if you're hearing this for the first time, for the love of God, I'm putting my life on the line to bring this truth forward for everybody. Do not take the vaccines. Do not let your children take the vaccines. What is going on here, we have to cover in a much more deeper discussion, but it is evil that's occurring. Okay, I grew up, you're my age too. We never grew up with all these vaccines.
No, we didn't. Absolutely
when we were born. That's
right. I know. And, I've worked in mental health, kids with autism for many, many years. And we've had so many discussions as educators about this, and why, we're seeing so many children coming in the way they are coming in, and it's an epidemic, but why? Let's go to the root of this. Let's keep asking why. Not, some people will equate it to weather and food. Are you kidding me? That doesn't change your DNA to that extent.
Exactly.
So there's something. We have to look into this. We have to get curious and use critical thinking and start using our own minds instead of being programmed. We're always being told, oh, I just read this or I just heard this. Oh, this is the latest that science is saying. Well, what are you thinking? What are you learning outside of what comes at you? Go for the knowledge, you know, go looking for it. So that's what I've always done anyway. And it's opened my mind quite a bit. And I think that's important. But yeah, so let's end it here. I think this is really good to end it here, just because I want to keep it short. People don't have a lot of time. There's so many videos out there to watch for everybody. So but we are bringing on more. If you're welcome to come back, I want
absolutely
to keep bringing this forward.
Yeah, as I say, Amina, I'm so grateful for being here. I just want you to know that this is not what I'm about to say an I love me thing. These are facts that I'm giving you.
Yes.
The website that I've created is a one-stop shop for everybody.
Beautiful.
Because I'm exposing everything from climate change to 5G. First and foremost, you got to know who you are not before you can learn who you are. And everything is right there surrounding the COVID-19. This is what our world needs to understand. That's where the truth lies. I've vetted everything, and it's going to resonate as it has with you. When people watch these videos of truth that are coming up from around the world that you're not seeing through the mainstream media, that is going to finally engage them in their consciousness, and we're all going to move forward.
Well, it's wonderful, and it's a pleasure to have you, and I'm grateful to have you be able to share the knowledge to everybody, and I want to learn so much too from you. I got a book. I just want to show you real quick. I'm not sure. I found something online. I don't know if this is something. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm learning. I'm doing my best to find stuff, but I'm on your website. I've looked at all your information there, so please go to his website, awarriorcalls.com. We'll put the links down below. Put all the information there, and to your YouTube channel as well. A Warrior Calls on YouTube. Are you on any other platforms?
Yes, and earthunited.global. That's the global point of the spear of this truth. It's an incredible work that Jesse Casanova set up. So please go there as well and subscribe. He's got an incredible software coming out that's groundbreaking in an application in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I believe.
Oh,
this
wonderful.
Is huge. It's going to allow people, because we know the internet eventually is going to be shut down. I know they're going to pull me off YouTube in the very near future because of this truth that I'm bringing forward. It's happening. The writing's on the wall.
Yeah.
This application that Jesse's written is going to allow everybody to access through their cellular network to still remain connected. You know, you can literally use your cell phone to be streaming onto your TV. So this is huge because when they pull me down, they're still going to be able to get connectivity with us.
Well, I would love for you to connect me to him as well, because I'm connected very much in the blockchain space. A very good, big influencer in the space, Bitcoin Band. His whole YouTube channel was just brought down yesterday. A very good friend of mine too. So they're doing it. They're just pulling you. So let's stick together. Let's network more. Let's keep going. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
And everybody stay tuned, because we've got a lot more information coming to you. So thank you.